Ndai. So I'm the author of the book African, the Rising Economic Power. As you can see, the book speaks about the African economy. And the fact that it speaks about the African economy is speaking about your life and the life of your children and grandchildren. So this book has got 12 chapters, and we're only going to focus on few of them, especially the one which speaks about the African financial freedom, which is a God revelation. This book wasn't mine. The one who really wanted me to write is the Holy Spirit. You will hear what the Lord wants. He really wants Africa to be free financially. That's the purpose for this book. So it has got 12 chapters. This day, for me, will be remembered as the day that the Lord has liberated Africa from its financial problem. So the yoke is broken. We should be happy about that. So as we know, the continent suffered 400 years of slavery, 300 years of colonization, and after independence, 1960 to 2000, until 2000, more than 200 coups d'etat, and a lot of war happened on that time. In some of the countries, it was kind of like a festival. If we can see from 1960 to 2000, we can see that really our African leaders have never really planned any development plan. So is that from 2000 to until now, that's how Africa has shown himself to be able to really achieve some of the achievement that we saw. And we saw that really, like for example, the inflation from 2000 until 2019, with the data that we have, we see that 48% in 2000 as inflation went down until 6% from 48%. And then you can see extreme poverty was 48% in 2000, decreased to 35%. We can go on and go on and go on. Even if life expectancy went from 50 years to 60 years. Really, you can have a lot of data that shows that the last 20 years has been very successful for African continent. But, you can see also it has got some challenges, like really a problem with debt. We can see, like even if we have been having some economic growth, the debt, we have a problem with that. That's why the Lord, I believe, wants to save us from this trap. The Lord wants to liberate us really from this debt trap forever. So that's why you have to know that there's no political freedom without economic freedom. There's no economic freedom without financial freedom. Here, the Lord is calling all African leaders to create a one Pan-African organization, which we can call, I just did call it, the Pan-African Infrastructure Fund. This infrastructure fund has to be a kind of tax union, or at least a preliminary tax union, because we unite under Agenda 2063. This has to be created in advance. The Lord is calling you to create it, leaders. This will save us, as you see, will save us in between 2 decades. We'll be able to be financial free. So how this have to happen, we might think that we are not able to do it, but there are many things that shows that Africa is not taxing its people. First, this we have to be given rights as a kind of like an IRS in the United States of America. This has to be given some rights to create supranational taxes to each one of these 54 countries. It has to first go there and they expand the tax base of each African countries, because they are still narrow, even if these previous years they've been trying to increase, but they are still very narrow. In the formal sector, there's no really much there. Some of the people, they say Africa, even if there's corruption, the Africa is not taxing. What is losing corruption is not much that what it should be taxing its people. You have to understand that European Union, for example, Europe, they tax a lot. It's 3 times what Africa tax. Europe can tax as much as a little things in the rural area, but in Africa it's not the same. This is not because we are poor. It's not that. Since long time, Europe has been doing that, even in the United States of America. So that's why we have to look at this aspect, what the Lord is calling us. We have this institution, we go out there, we go with its body, at least to each country. We have at least 5 to 10 officers. There we go and look at how they expand the tax incomes and tax expand what they can get from tax and create supranational taxes for continental infrastructures. So when you look there, I cannot go deep. There are many things to do. There are 11 proposals when really Africa can collect at least $30 billion to $70 billion every year. If this Pan-African Infrastructure Fund is given the rights, it will be able to correct, if it's working together with this existing African Tax Administration Forum. This is an existing African organization which really has helped Africa to improve on their taxation. But if they work together, they go to each African country as a body to go and separate this supranational tax, Pan-African tax, from local domestic tax. They will be able to collect 30 to 70 billion, and it's a projection of $500 billion every 10 years. This is very important. So what you might think that we can be able to reach here? And this is possible? Yes, it is possible indeed. Let's just give ourselves an example. We remember that Nigeria, when it has created, for example, what they called Mandela tax, that tax was charging every worker around 2%. It has managed to collect from 1970 to until 1994, it managed to collect almost $60 billion to help South Africa and other countries in Southern Africa on this side to be able to fight against apartheid. So if Nigeria can do that on those difficult moments, what about us, all these 54 countries together? Are we not able to collect $30 billion every year? We are able to collect $30 billion US every year. If you go to inside the book, you will read, you see 11 proposals that the Lord has given us how we can collect that money, $500 billion, and He shows us also how we can use this amount of money, what we can do to achieve what we want to eradicate poverty within our people. So the next one now, you will see that this fund, within 10 years as we will be collecting this fund, you have to know that, first of all, as Western taxpayers are collecting, they suffer to conquer others, conquer Africa. So African taxpayers should suffer to save Africa. They won't even feel really what to charge. Let's take, for example, if you will be charging everything which is exchanged at 0.5%, and you add a tax of 0.5% to everything which is exchanged in Africa, we'll be able to collect this money. Let's take another example within the 11 proposals. There is this digital economy, which we know that we are spending a lot in internet, we are spending a lot in data. We are in few years from now, we'll be able to spend almost $300 billion for only this, which will be contributing to African GDP. So if we can spend, we can get something there, we can also increase. There are many, a kind of all the list, we'll be able to see how we can collect this $500 billion within 10 years. So what shall we do within 10 years? That's very critical. We have to see what we can do on that moment. So those money, you have to understand that on this issue, what this organization we do, the Pan-African, the PIF, we go and look how to expand more, to get more taxes. Also how to rebase the economies of Africa. You have to know that if the Africa economies, these countries, they don't go and do their statistics. They have to renew their statistics. Some of them, their economy have grown, but they don't know. An example, for example, of Nigeria, which decided to look at their statistics. They found that they became overnight the first economic power in Africa taking over from South Africa just by rebasing their economy, which thought it was $210 billion. They found themselves, they were almost 270 billion. They found themselves they were $510 billion. This is very important because it helps how to identify other tax-based tax incomes. So they can be able to recruit as other taxpayers. So this is very important when you rebase your economies. There's also Ghana. Ghana also, I think it was 2010, they looked at their taxes, they updated their GDPs, and they found that they grew 60% by just doing that. And they managed to move to the middle class society. So this is very important. This organization, we go out there and look deep, much deep, really, the economy for Africa to each 54 countries and create Pan-African taxes and establish that organization to each Africa to go and collect those taxes and send them to the local continental accounts. And that's where we can be able to reach this $500 billion. So the Lord is saying, focus only on building urgently the African integrated high-speed railway, which is very important. This is high-speed railway, which is already under Agenda 2063. People don't know about Agenda 2063. It's an agenda that 54 countries they have decided to put in place, which will take Africa out of poverty until 2063 and unite Africa. But it has got issues. The finances, they all in majority depend and expect Europe and European Union and the Western to be able to finance and create this when it comes to infrastructures and so on. So this is a problem. This is one problem. And we have African Development Bank, which is a very important body, which is helping really. Africa is a very important bank of development, but is also limited. So we see that really Agenda 2063 can fail like others, like other agendas for development that happened before because they are lacking money. This is very, very important that you should know that this Agenda 2063 will only depend when we have our own finances. So we have this African Development and Africa Integrated High-Speed Railways and Grand Inga Dam project, which are important. Only this money, we focus the first 10 years which they are collecting that money, we focus only on these two projects. Why? Because when you look at this integrated high-speed railway, it means it will collect, this project is about there to connect all the 54 countries with high-speed railways. This is very important. Imagine people moving within Africa within 2 hours or within 1 day or 2 days, changing, entering in each country. This is very, very, very important. It will help goods to be exchanged. It will boost our economies. And in fact, without these two projects, the trade agreement that which has to be in place soon won't be successful. You have to understand that. Even if when we compare big countries like Congo, DRC, it has got to come provinces which there's trade agreement. They don't need trade agreement, but they don't share goods. So we don't want to see a trade agreement where only the Western or the Chinese will share goods on top, but the people inside are not sharing good. We don't want to share poverty. We want to share good. So if we have this high speed, which is crossing all our villages, we see food which are exchanged between countries, and it will boost really, and it will become a changing game for Africa. This is very, very, very important. So you have to also understand that almost 30% of African countries are landlocked. So which means those countries which are landlocked, they are very rich on minerals. So if they access the coast, they will be able to really improve their income. This is very, very important with this African integrated high-speed railway. There's also the second one is Grand Inga Dam. This Grand Inga Dam, you can read in this book. You understand how Many NGOs has fighted against it. It's much more deep, you can understand that, but it's very, very important. You have to understand that Africa and lack of electricity is a huge problem. There is almost 30%, 50% of Africa countries have got less than 500 megawatt. We know that Africa needs more than that. We know that the solar is developing, but the solar tech is now big space. When you look at producing 300 megawatt with a solar energy, then you have to have a big land. And also, I don't think Africa can expect that only solar or wind or nuclear can really industrialize Africa. It's inevitable that Grand Inga can be ignored. That's very important that we focus on this. So within these 10 years, which we'll be collecting this money, this money will be helping to finance these ones. Then the private sector will come. We know that this, for African EU or PIF, we own, for example, plus minus 30%. And then there will be private sector which will take care of the management. We own also these companies, the shares, and they will take care about the management. But when you look down, there will be more shares. They will own 30% plus minus 30%, and African Union we own other money, other shares, and DRC in terms of this project, Grand Inga Dam, it will own also 30 or 40% because that's where it belongs, that project. But as they explained on the World Bank and other companies, they didn't trust really in the DRC to be able to finance this project. So you can read on that book, you can get more clarity. So now on this PIF, we own shares, which means through the next 10 years, they will be able to collect other money, which means they will be collecting also this tax, supranational taxes, still collecting also these shares. They will be able to collect $500 to $1 trillion. So this money now will be going to African Development Bank. This is very, very important because African Development Bank, that's where we have to target. We have to make sure that we create a process which will boost African Development Bank, which has got, it is a body which is existing there. But as we see now, they've tried to improve this last year. They say that we have a budget of a capital of $200 billion, but callable money is not there. So, but if we can make this money available, almost half $500 billion to the African Development Bank in the next 10 to 20 years, then we'll be able to stabilize our Africa for the next 200 years. That's what the Lord is calling us. He's calling us to be able to be an economic power for the next 200 years and remove poverty out of our people. So you have to understand why. You have to understand that our population is growing. Our population is moving from now, it will be double by 2060. We will be almost 3 billion people. So that's why it's very important that time we are able to have such bank, such like this African Development Bank, which has got flow, a cash which is available that can be able to help these countries to come out of poverty. So this the schema there are more explanation on the book, but is more about on how we can become financially free. It has to start from us. I try to procrastinate. I'm not good on writing. It's the first book that I wrote. But now you can understand that this is a call from the Lord. Please, leaders, we know that really you are suffering. You have too much pressure from the Westerns. You have too much pressures of debt. We know how Zambia is suffering of debt. We know how DRC is suffering from debt. We know how Kenya recently was in trouble with the railways which they were just recently built. We know how Zambia is in trouble with this debt from China. Really, if we keep on this trend without to create this Pan-African financial freedom, we're likely to see losing our continent easily if we are not really, because many things are happening without to know. Even if on land grab is huge, we see the last 10 to 15 years, Africa has sold almost a size of France. This is land grab. Sold a land of a size of France. Don't imagine when we let it from the next years because of the lack of finances. We saw China has already bought a size of Malawi, and they are very fast on buying land. So we don't want to reach to 50 years from now, where now we lose in political dependency. Then we go back to fight for political dependency. We have now to fight for financial dependency to protect the little political dependency we still have. Because when you lose this political independency, then it will be another problem. So we have to know that this fight is the same fight that we did fight for political dependency. It has to be seen all together, you leaders, 54 of you, you Pan-Africanists, looking on the aspect of finances, which is so easy to do right now. That when you sit together, you create as little as you can, but you are able to create as much as you can. And the African people, they are ready to participate when they hear. Diaspora, they are ready to participate when they hear. So you have to go down there, you create these organizations, give it some power, and give it some orientation. We know there are corruption, but there's a private sector. Once you identify where to go about it, there's a private sector which can go there and collect these finances in exchange of a certain percentage of administration budget and their fund, their payment. So we have to study all this, and within is a call. I don't know why the Lord is calling now, but it's now that we have to fight for financial freedom, because probably we might lose political freedom if we don't do it now. So the book speaks more about that. I don't think I will finish about speaking about it by speaking here. We have a short time here. But I think with videos which we go deep one by one and to explain really what the Lord wants for Africa. He heard the cry of these small churches all the corner. He heard their poverty, which they want to come out of it.